Hello, I'm going to be splitting up this video into two parts. If you'd like to hear my analysis of the Marvel Legends fan stream for May, go to this time code here. Otherwise, I wanted to talk about the figure reveals between last month's fan stream and now. And towards the end of that, I also throw in a couple of dumb, idiot, stupid predictions about the reveals, including the San Diego Comic-Con exclusives. Immediately after the last fan stream, Dwight posted another teaser image onto his Instagram. My immediate thought is a character like the Lizard, which doesn't make sense because they just released that figure. A lot of people are saying Mole Man. The rumor leak list did say that it was more of a 3-pack with the Fulmer-looking motherfuckers. And I guess the accessory to come in a 3-pack like that is a manhole cover. Otherwise, I have no idea what this could be. Now, moving on to the Daredevil Born Again Season 2 renders, I wanted to talk about the new double barbell shoulders that they're doing on some of their MCU figures. I don't like it. Yes, it gives, range of motion and all the other angles of the shoulder, but just doesn't give you that back and forth that a regular butterfly hinge does. I feel like it could, but they just need to cut more out of the chest and maybe make the cap that they have on there a little less thick in a way that makes it worth it. Moving on again to the return of Kristen Ritter as Jessica Jones. I want to say the top half is a reuse of that original Jessica Jones figure, but the bottom half is the most interesting. The legs are made of like two distinct layers. The actual flesh of the leg is like a skeleton to the ripped jeans on the outside. Props to whoever designed that. That's something I have not seen before on an action figure. At least, Marvel Legends. And then we move on to Punisher. Kind of a strange release here. A little awkward between now and that Punisher special figure. If you release these two next to each other, they might, compete, eat each other on the shelf. Maybe a better release schedule for these figures might have been to put Punisher in a wave with the other Spider-Man characters, just to give him a little visual difference in packaging alone. But if we move on to the Punisher special figure, that's basically a t-shirt. This might be an easy and cheap way for collectors to get kind of like a generic Punisher. Could easily fudge this in a comic book collection. So Spider-Man Brand New Day. I want to start with the Hulk, and I want to start with packaging real quick. I know this is going to be great for retention. I think the main problem that I have with it is that it's very much a Hasbro-like house design. This packaging looks like an iteration of the Black Series packaging, which in turn looks like G.I. Joe packaging, which in turn looks like Power Rangers packaging. There's nothing about this packaging that screams, MCU Spider-Man. I think they honestly did a better job of it for the MCU 10-year anniversary. There's flourishes within the design of those boxes that give off a MCU impression, which is lost in these packagings. Another thing about this packaging, and I see it all the time, is there's not enough headroom for Hulk. If they just opened up the packaging a little bit more, made the window in the front extend over the top so that, light could come in and actually illuminate the figure, I think that would look a little better and, get rid of that weird headroom issue. But onto Hulk himself, the most obvious thing here is that it has a ball peg at the waist, which is rare and also huge for Marvel Legends. That's going to make, rotational posing so much better. But I think the biggest issue people have with this Hulk are the portraits, which look off. I think it mostly has to do with the very, circular hairline. Hulk is one of the few Avengers who are sporting, maybe like a Norwood 2, 3. He's starting to lose some hair, which, as an adult 30-year-old man, I appreciate. Otherwise, I really like the accessories that Hulk has. I feel like that reflects what I've been saying with these collect and erect pieces. An accessory to encourage or even just reward people for buying the other Spider-Man figure in this wave, which we'll talk about now. I think I heard Dan say that he's got a new torso, and it looks like it. The symbol on his chest is new. For me, there's something off with the proportions of this Spider-Man body and the Final Swing figure as well. The proportions just feel more comic booky instead of movie, where, you know, actors have big heads, which might actually be a good thing. Cast a wide net, you might catch a couple MCU collectors and comic collectors getting this Spider-Man in particular as the representation of Spider-Man on their shelves. So again, real quick before we move on to the actual stream, I want to do some predictions. A couple of details that Dan teased about these new San Diego Comic-Con exclusive reveals. There's going to be 2. They're going to be vaguely, themed. They're also going to reveal something green. Given how few people know Mole Man and might buy a figure of him, I'm going to guess that Mole Man is one of those San Diego Comic-Con exclusives. If we're sticking on theme, maybe a little too on the nose, but given that Avengers Doomsday is coming out, I'm going to guess that they're also going to do a Doctor Doom of some kind. Something green. That's got to mean that they're going to reveal another Hulk-related character in that, 2000s throwback packaging that they're doing. There was a leaked rumor list. Doc Samson was on that list. The only Doc Samson that we've ever gotten was on the Fin Fang Foom wave, where he had that old Hasbro articulation. I'm hoping that I'm wrong. That would save me a lot of money. Wow, I was wrong. The first reveal was indeed something green, definitely not Doc Samson.
Within this Incredible Hulk program,
it was Hulk 2099. Unfortunately for me, anything 2099 related, aside from Spider-Man, is a complete blind spot for me. I have no idea who this character is. But you know what? That looks like a Toyetic-ass figure. Sporting features as hair running along his spine, hair on his forearms and hands, and a lack of hair on his head. He's sporting a Norwood 5 or 6 there, probably, right? We're getting a few newly sculpted pieces here. Notably, the feet have those furry style legs, and they look like they're going to be a little hard to stand, literally. And hey, look, there's cutouts for the butterfly shoulders, so he can actually do, the thunderclap with the included hands that are just claws.
This is our MCU Punisher here.
We also get to see a quick in-person shot of the Disney Plus special Punisher. Looks like they fixed his beard. I otherwise love all the accessories, especially if that can remain at the, $28 price point. That's actually going to be worth picking up. Now, you know what? They revealed a lot more than I thought they were going to. They revealed their Future Foundation 2-packs, consisting of Sue and Thing.
I'm really happy to see these 2, maybe some others.
And Spider-Man and Reed.
Yeah, there he is. Hey!
Both of these packs come with really beautiful portraits. They make me want to buy them just to swap on the old Walgreens exclusives, but especially that new head on Sue. That is beautiful sculpt and digital printing. Props to the designers for that. Now, Thing seems to be about 80% new sculpt, and despite that sculpt looking great, I have a small problem. When it comes to the manufacturing side of these figures, costume details are created using a ton of deco, which I'm a little surprised by. Hopefully these 2-packs aren't astronomically more expensive than normal. And that's true for about half of the Thing. His upper torso is mostly cast in white with black deco to outline his shirt. But then you get to the lower half of the figure and those same details are actually sculpted into his pants. And if I were like a money guy at Hasbro, an executive, I'd see that and say, that can't really be used for reuse in the future. For both the sake of reuse and the flow of the figure itself, I would have liked to have seen that sculpted detail just made out of deco, so they wouldn't have to spend thousands of dollars on new molds just for this one-off figure. I mean, there are at least a few depictions of Thing with pants on, just sans piping. Now, if we look back at Sue, this is actually one of the few instances where I really appreciate the use of the super articulated body, specifically for the costume detailing around her abdomen. The cut of the reverse ab crunch almost follows that detail that, a ball and socket peg would actually break up too much. And I appreciate that we're finally getting some extra effects pieces. I could see those being reused for Maximum Magneto, perhaps. Swapping over to Spider-Man and Mr. Fantastic, I want to talk about Spider-Man real quick just to get him out of the way. I appreciate that he's on the actual super articulated body. However, if you zoom in on his crotch, really get in there, I don't see the drop-down hips anymore, which I really appreciate. I feel like I've seen way too many Instagram and Reddit posts of people snapping their drop-down hips in half just from basic handling of the figure. But then we look at Reed. What is that? Do you see that? Isn't that technically the Pizza Spidey Buck from 2014? Updated with pinless limbs, but still. And you know what? It makes sense. I get that they want to use the torso again because it allows the arms to snap off for the extremely, extremely cool bendy wire arms. How long has it been since we've gotten bendy arms in a fucking Mr. Fantastic figure? 10 years? 20 years going back to the really big hands? And honestly, this seems like it's shaping up to be a maximum Mr. Fantastic figure. This release might even be the blueprint for that figure, if they ever get around to it. And now we get to the San Diego Comic-Con exclusives. Now, one of these releases is a perfect example of a con exclusive. The other one, I really don't understand.
First one that we want to talk about is an X-Men 97 item.
X-Men 97, Professor X in his hover chair. Why is this a con exclusive? Could they really not sell it to Target, Walmart, Amazon, Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth? Is it ableism? Did Target and Walmart pass on this because he's in a wheelchair, essentially? Because all Hasbro would have to do is point at the previous release of the Ultimate Riders Professor X and show them how well it sold. In fact, it sold so well that the secondary market prices were so high that they decided to re-release the figure years later. I just don't understand why there wasn't enough demand for a mass release of this figure, especially when it's attached to X-Men 97, with the second season coming out this year, I think. I feel like retailers would be jumping all over that, but instead we get it here. But the figure itself looks extremely well executed. I love the two portraits. I love the animated style. I think that's the kind of chair that I wanted for the original release, and I think a lot of other people did too. Comic collectors especially are going to double dip on this. I don't know. I don't get it. Now, the second San Diego Comic-Con exclusive appeals way more to me as an exclusive.
We love Spider-Man here, and we have another TV design set, but...
This is a set celebrating the 1960s Spider-Man animated series, and it looks ridiculous. The portraits especially are hilarious. They do print memes on the box, but I think it's justified. There are strangely a lot of memes that come from this animated series.
Look at that expression right there.
I'm
so
from the
much
60s!
Fun.
And hey, look again, they use the fucking Pizza Spidey body.
You see Max's finger, the Electro's finger there, doing his little...
And the finger blasting accessory. Probably shouldn't call it that. I want that on a standard release Electro.
Insane.
He has the bendy wire tail too.
He has bendy wire tail too.
I want to give myself at least a little bit of props. In a roundabout way, even though I showed my work incorrectly, I still kind of came to the conclusion that Lizard was going to be a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive.
It's a Spider-Man that if you have multiple of these Spider-Mans, you could create some of those memes that Jesse loves so much.
And finally, Spider-Man is probably the least interesting figure of this set. Although if you swap the head, it's sort of a decent representation of that Neversoft Spider-Man game from PS1 era. I know they haven't done it in a couple of years, but if they were to do the Hasbro Pulse Con, a couple more figures from that set would be fantastic. And before we completely wrap up, I just wanted to thank you sincerely. The last video that we did on this channel, as of now, is up to 50,000 views, which is over 3 times as popular as our last most popular video. But you know what? I'm mildly peeved, just because I wish you guys would have told me that that was going to be as successful as it is. Otherwise, I would have put more than a day's worth of effort into that video. But again, I really appreciate the support, and I'm going to try and make future videos aligned at least thematically with what made that last video so successful. So if you're interested in seeing that, I would suggest subscribing. And if you liked this video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, give me a thumbs down. I'll take it either way. And I have something particular that I'd like to know in the comments. Ed, as you might know as the other voice on this channel, got a crazy opportunity to live in Japan. He's been inspired by the popularity of the last video, and he wants to know if there's anything you guys want to see that is Japan-centric that he can make a video out of. So let us know in the comments what you'd like to see. Thank you for watching. I'm Glenn, and this is Super Articulated. Look at this. And there it is. My hairline has been the same my entire life. Up, up. Yay! Hi, Rowdy. Hi, bud. Hi. How are you? Did you just eat your food? Good job. Good job. Are your paws dirty? All right, get off my desk.